Alright, so I'm going to try to keep this short. Just wanted to do a quick video on kind of the raw footage of what it took to put the yurt together. So here I'm taking 2x6s and I'm cutting the strips out of them for the lattice work wall. I think I did it roughly a quarter of an inch thick. It was kind of difficult because I had this long 2x6 and I had to push it and pull it to get it to cut smoothly. And of course, using Home Depot lumber is always a risky endeavor, but especially when you're cutting it down and trying to get pieces that don't have knots or weak spots in them. So here I'm showing just a piece that I've got a lot of knots, but this one's actually really good. Lots of solid wood. That's why I made them thicker, so they could handle that. So I also, because I didn't want to, I didn't want to waste wood, I took some pieces that had some imperfections, and a lot of pieces that had some imperfections, and came in with some wood glue, just to kind of strengthen those weak spots. And even then, some of the pieces that looked fine ended up breaking. Some of the pieces that looked at, like they would break did, and vice versa. Here I'm working on the rafters that went to the roof pieces. So I'm cutting out notches that fit into the metal center ring that I welded. And so that has to be precise, which is really interesting because all the work I put into this, I ended up having to redo all of it. You'll see later in the video. But I went with the circular saw first to get my first initial cuts, and then with the jigsaw just to cut out the rest of the notch there. And you can see better from this angle. I've got two of them, one set on top of the other, just to make sure I'm matching up, and the ring just sets right on top of that. And this is the other side. Since we're going to be using canvas and fabrics and insulation, that as it rubs up against these rafters, if it has rough edges, I'm worried, because the whole structure is designed to be able to shift and move in the wind, and so I don't want any rough edges for the fabric to catch on. So here you can see I'm taking off the edges on the far side, and then in a little bit you'll see me come with a router, and I actually ended up taking the router to the whole thing just to take the edges off, just so that as the fabric moves across it, it's not gonna catch and rub quite as much. So here I'm using a flat router cut just to get my curve, and then I come back again with I don't even know what you call it, but just an angled cut that kind of just takes that edge off, that corner off. Now, let's see, that's still the flat one. I think that's the rounded one. Okay, yeah. So that gives me a nice smooth surface. This is skipping ahead to the property where Jade was helping me with his dad's equipment, clearing brush and clearing a spot initially for the RV, but then also for where the yurt would be. And then here we've got Heather helping me tie the lattice wall together. So we would stick a metal wire through, put a string inside and pull it back through, and then knot it. Then you need to use needle nose pliers to really get that knot tight, because you want the string to not to be too loose, so that it doesn't, the wall can hold itself tight together. And there's Irie trying to be helpful, wanting attention. Oh, the plights of a 1-year-old. Yeah, these videos really don't, because I only recorded so much, it doesn't really show you quite how much time and labor had to go into this. It's just so much more than you'd expect. So yeah, you can see I used the wire to pull it through, knotted it, and then you'll see here in a second I'll come back with needle nose, just to try to get that knot down as tight to the wood as possible. And yeah, so this took quite a few weekends of mostly me, a little bit of Heather helping, but unfortunately the kids take up a lot of our attention. So a lot of weekends just trying to get all this lattice work tied together, one section at a time. Then here, Mark and his boys came early on the weekend that we were having a bunch of people come over, just to get the initial lattice walls up. And I did a dirtcrete, just concrete mixed with dirt circle, and I used some garden edging, landscaping edging, just to kind of frame that concrete pad. And here we've got some more people that came. Door frame, we're using screws and washers to attach the lattice work. And I'll come through and make some more supports and cuts for windows at some point, but we're just getting the initial frame up for now. Here's our first attempt at putting rafters up. So yeah, like I said, I made some mismeasurements, and okay, so that center several things to talk about here. That center stilts, look at how unstable, you could see it shaking there. That was terrifying. That was rough. That's a 80-pound metal ring that we were trying to get all these joists up into, and apparently I got some of my math wrong, and the joists, the rafters were just way too long, and so it was putting that ring up too high, and it wasn't sitting flush. The notch that I was making wasn't sitting flush. And it was kind of distorting the yurt walls. It was kind of turning it into more of an octagon rather than a circle, and so it just wasn't sitting right. So this was the end of that day, when we had a whole bunch of people over trying to help, and we got some good work done, but unfortunately we had to take most of it down and redo it. This is another weekend where we, here's me working on getting the rafters cut. I had a notch that the cable fits into that I cut that notch deeper, so the rafter would sit a little bit lower, and the ring would sit a little lower. And then I also had to redo the face of the rafter that would fit into the ring. These guys helped me get those rafters up while I was trying to modify each one, and yeah, unfortunately they had to wait for me because their job was a lot faster than mine. But we ended up getting all the rafters up, and Mark was really awesome. He stuck around, and we got 2x4 supports put in between the rafters to get everything locked in really solid. So yeah, this is kind of the end of the video. It's because this looks very similar to this right now, and Heather will work on the canvas, and I'll try to help her with that, and we'll get the insulation layers up, and we'll try to get this thing finished up and put together for winter. So thanks for watching.